or perhaps, hey, sooner than I expected. Hey, folks, thanks for tuning into the BAM podcast. I'm your host, Mike Lafferty, and we're here to talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier with Jason Tondro. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. It's a good day.
All right. Also joining us is another illustrious RPG writer, Mike Myler. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good today. It's a little cold in Pittsburgh, and we just had like a spat of really warm days, but it's kind of welcome. I was a little worried because it was like 60 degrees, and I was like, it's March. Like, what's gonna happen in June? Like, Jesus. But
yeah, it's 60 degrees here right now in Colorado. But
we had hail last night, like sheets of it's covered the ground. Yeah.
I guess it's heading my way then. Oh, hey guys, I got to do this thing. Walt told me I needed intro music, so give me a second. We have to. We're a serious podcast.
Is this something
Huh? Okay, that's enough of that shit.
It's brilliant.
Thank you. I worked literally minutes on that. Hey, they're sending me a link, buddy. Just a second. Very soon. All right. I get a small fatherly emergency. So, Jason, take the mic.
Yeah, sure. Well, first off, Mike, it's good to have you on the show. It's been a long time. Like, we've been friends on Facebook forever, right? Like,
and Crucible City, man. We go way back.
Oh, I forgot. That's right. Of course. Who did you play on Crucible City?
I can't believe you forgot. I played Sniper and Splits.
Oh, I remember now. Yeah.
The Robo Hitler moment.
It's been like 15 years, man.
No, fair enough. Yeah.
But for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, back in the days before Discord, we had like a text-based Mutants and Masterminds game with hundreds of players.
Yeah, it's huge. It's a server. Really. No matter what time you logged on, there was always a game going on.
It ran for years. It was kind of a constant game. Everyone would log in and they could play. And we had a whole city grid all built up and everything. And I was like sort of the head GM. I didn't pay the bills or anything, and I didn't do the coding. I was just the story guy. And
did awesome stories too, by the way. Like the crossover events.
We had a great time. Like we did this one thing where like Earth Nazi invaded, and I just wrote up like 30 bad guy stat blocks, like everything from Nazi soldiers and super tanks to like Hitler's brain in a jar. And we just threw all the stat blocks at the group, and within literally minutes of me uploading the file, people had started running games, of like the Nazi invasion, and people were playing, and it was a joy. It was a beautiful thing to see.
It was.
But that was all long ago, and now we get our kicks in other ways. So what did you think of the show of Falcon and Winter Soldier? You've probably seen the first 2 episodes, I presume?
Yeah. It's excellent. I saw some teaser stuff about Baron Zemo, and I'm very excited because the Zemo villains are like some of my favorite Marvel. Like among the Marvel lineage villains, I think they're top notch. Yeah, they're definitely top 3.
Yeah, he's like sort of our last second shot right at the end of the second episode is they're going to go talk to Zemo and bring that character in, presumably apparently as the guy who knows everything to know about Hydra. So that might tell us who these super soldiers are. Mike, have you caught up on the show yet? You're muted, buddy.
Alas, I have not. I really want to. I can only enjoy it vicariously through you guys.
Why are you even here, man?
It's the BAM podcast, and I own this.
Well, I'm sorry to have spoiled it for you, man. I didn't realize that when I complained the other day.
I've been reading the comics for years. I'm pretty sure I have an idea what's going to happen. So it's all right.
I'm just giving you hell.
And unless D-Man shows up all of a sudden in episode 3, and like wrestling dudes.
Okay, so on that topic, I just want to say, like the characters that are introducing in this episode, I did not expect Isaiah Bradley to show up. And if we're talking about D-Man, I would not be surprised at this point. For those of you that don't know who Isaiah Bradley is, he's introduced in Truth, Red, White, and Black, a 4-issue miniseries that came out many years ago that was originally a what-if story. It was not canon. It suggested that there is no way in hell that the United States government would would ever test the super soldier serum on a white dude before testing it on Black Americans first. And sort of a plot inspired by the Tuskegee Airmen. They start off with this they literally give the super soldier serum prototype to an entire regiment of black soldiers, and they all die gruesomely from the serum, except for like a handful of them. And most of those are all mutated physically, so they all look like these sort of freakish black monsters, except for Isaiah. And over the course of this story, they all die except for Isaiah, who goes on this one sort of suicide mission where he steals Captain America's diamond-shaped shield and goes behind German enemy lines. It's a fantastic story. It ends with Cap meeting Isaiah, and by that point, Isaiah is like, he's got cognitive dysfunction. He can't really talk anymore. It's very much feels like Ali in Ali's last years, right? Where like he was smiling all the time, and you got the sense that he knew who you were, but he couldn't really communicate anymore. And that's very much the feel they go for with Isaiah. And the last shots are like Cap takes a selfie, with Isaiah, and they hang that picture on the wall next to pictures of Isaiah with like every prominent Black American of the second half of the 20th century. Everybody's up there, from like Martin Luther King and everybody. Everybody's up there, and Ali and so on. And it's a sad kind of tragic moment, because Cap is like, what the hell? Like, he never knew this guy existed. And we know that we feel sad for Isaiah's story, because he was incredibly taken advantage of, it unappreciated. And yet he is beaming with pleasure at meeting Captain America at last. It's a fantastic and very tough to unravel moment. Well, that all shows up in this episode, remixed for the television show. Now he's not before Captain America, now he's after Cap. And his big mission isn't behind German lines in 1942 or whatever. Now it's behind the lines in Korea, where he fought Bucky. And because we've got an actor who can play that part, he doesn't have the cognitive dysfunction of Isaiah. He can communicate. And he's not happy. He's really mad and bitter. And he has isolated himself from everyone. And the door is opened by his son or grandson, who, of course, is the future Patriot, I think, from the Avengers.
Yeah. I was going to say, that's why I wasn't surprised when I saw Isaiah Bradley, because, like, I kind of felt like they're going to be bringing out the Patriot, because, like, why wouldn't you? Why would you not? Like, it's a very popular character. They keep running him in more series, like.
And it seems like they're heading towards Young Avengers at some point in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm talking up a big storm about this character, but it for me, Isaiah is kind of, I was surprised to see him. You weren't, because you're like, oh, Patriot's popular. Of course you put him in there. Yeah. But I was like, wow, like I was really surprised. And not to have Patriot, who was just an unannounced, unnamed guy who's not even the Patriot yet. He's just Isaiah Bradley.
Yeah, he's just Isaiah Bradley, the kid. Like, yeah, you just see him in like a hoodie, and he's hanging out, helping out with his grandpa. Like,
yeah, exactly. Okay, what I am getting out of this show, and I want to ask Mike what you're getting out of the show in a minute. What I am getting out of this show, the Falcon story is a story about a Black man in America, and it's exploring Black male issues. The Winter Soldier story is a story about being a veteran, regardless of race. A guy who comes back, he's killed, he's done terrible things, and now he's trying to figure out, is that who I am? How do I interact in society? What's my role? What do I do now that I'm no longer killing people? But Isaiah Bradley is where the Venn diagram of those two characters overlaps, right? He both has the traumatization of being a veteran and having done terrible things, but he also has that experience of being a marginalized Black male voice in American society. And to me, he's like the perfect character to bring both of those two stories, the Falcon story and the Winter Soldier story, into sharp relief and bring them together. And that's why I really hope that we continue to see Isaiah. I hope that he has a story in this 6-episode show. I hope that he comes out of that house by the end. I want to see him. I want to see us hear more about him. I want to unpack that. I would love to see some healing going on with that character by the end. Mike, what did you think of this show? What's it doing for you?
Well, I mean, I'm really enjoying it, but I'm going to jump on what you're going about. So. Yeah. I would also like to see that, but I think I think Isaiah Bradley's going to get like shoved into a mentor role for when his grandson gets sucked into whatever the Falcon and Winter Soldier are up to.
Okay.
And then there's like a fourth major plot line going on, which is the identity of Captain America, right? And like introducing Isaiah Bradley while they like expound upon like here's not US agent, here's new Captain America.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're going to do for a while. And so like it was important to have that foil, and it works extremely well. Yeah. And by the way, they picked a great actor for John Walker, because like I can't look at him and not be like disgusted just looking at the guy. And it's not he's like ugly, because he's holding his face in a certain way every time the camera's on him, and it's this like aggressive. What you would imagine if you saw the American government personified in like a single blonde white dude is exactly what John Walker looks like.
That's funny.
Right, like and having Isaiah Bradley play like a prominent role and get like actual lines and a good scene, by the way.
Yeah.
And the follow up on that scene was great too, which is the way they twisted it up on you a little bit. And I guess we're allowed to do spoilers here, right?
Are we talking about the argument scene in the middle of the street?
Yes.
Well, let's get to that in a minute, because I love that scene too. But yeah, go on about Walker.
Yeah, so I'm a little disappointed to see John Walker, because A, I just didn't really like US Agent, and B, I feel like the Nomad storyline would be a way more fruitful place to go, especially right now when there's like that literal movement going on. But I can understand why you'd want to avoid it being Disney and like trying to sell to every party possible, right? But yeah, I mean it was a good choice for John Walker, and I don't know, I thought his introduction was a little hokey, where they're like in the high school gym, and then he comes out on the football field in the band. I mean, the band piece was nice, but like, yeah, it was. I mean, I guess it was supposed to be hokey and feel like a hammer, you know.
Do you remember? The original Star Spangled Man with a Plan in the Captain America film, right? Yeah. When they sing that song, and he's up on like the stage,
punching Hitler,
pitching war bonds. Yeah, exactly. And it is hokey, right? It's propaganda. It is quite literally war propaganda. The high school marching band version is the perfect 21st century update of that war propaganda. Like it, I dug it. I mean, I thought it was like, yeah, let's glorify America in the exact way that we would today. And so, I mean, yeah, it's appalling, but it also was perfect in its perfectly appalling fashion. I like Walker better than you. I like the actor better than you.
The actor's doing a good job.
I think that they're trying to make Walker sympathetic. There's a lot of mileage being done here to make him a likable guy who's trying to navigate a tough situation the best that he can. And when I first saw him in stills from the first episode, and over the course of the week, when they were just comparing him to Steve Rogers, right? We had like Steve Cap and we had New Cap. His smile is so dorky, like his face looks so dorky. But without the mask on, he's a handsome dude. Like he strikes me as a very personable, normal guy until he puts the mask on, and then I don't like how he looks at all. Which probably is how they cast it.
There's a little bit of like a Cyclops Flash Gordon syndrome going on with him. You know, like there's a way that they want us to feel about him, and I feel like they're definitely giving him directions for that, and costuming's doing it, and it's effective. Where it's like sympathy was a good word to use. You're supposed to feel a little sympathy, but you're also supposed to feel like a little like off-put, you know, because you feel kind of bad for Flash because he's kind of an idiot. Right, but like he's also kind of a dick. So
well, and also I think they're doing like, you know, Walker's got a pistol. Like he doesn't just throw the shield, right? Like he pulls out a gun. And our protagonists, Sam and Buck, they really don't like this guy. And so that makes us naturally not like that guy, right?
And the writing for Sam and Bucky is so good. There's already bits of it that are excellent. Where it's like,
all right, let's get to that argument scene with the cops.
Yeah.
So this is so they come out of Isaiah's place and they're arguing in the street. Yeah, Ron, kudos to Marvel for tackling some tough topics with nuance so far. I'm glad to hear you say that because I think so too. But in many ways, much of this story is kind of speaking to Black audiences, and so I'm inclined to I'm sometimes I love the show and I'm finding it very interesting, but I think in many ways it's trying to talk to a different audience than me. So I find it very interesting from that side. But anyway, they come out of the house and they get in an argument and cops pull up, and it's sort of classic. It's classic 21st century America, and that they immediately start hassling the Black dude and asking him like, "Is this guy bothering you?" And they're asking Bucky like, "Is this guy bothering you?" And Sam's like, "Hey man, like back off. I'm just talking to this guy." And they're clearly about to arrest him when they suddenly realize that it's the Falcon. Yeah. And they back off. And what I loved about this scene is that it's the perfect flip to the scene with the bank loan in the first episode.
I want to talk about the bank loan. Yeah.
Yeah, where there he tries to use his fame as an Avenger to get a bank loan and they won't help him. And they suggest it's because he's Black.
It's also a very satisfying detail because they also brought up like, hey, a bunch of people disappeared for like 5 years.
Yeah.
And now everybody's back. So like the whole system's weird. You would have been qualified 5 years ago, but like you went 5 years with no income.
Yeah.
And like, that's a very satisfying detail to include. It makes the like world building really click.
But now here, instead of trying to use his fame and failing, he doesn't want to use his fame and succeeds, right? Like they don't arrest him because of the fame that he got nowhere with in the bank scene. And both scenes are incredibly frustrating for him. Right?
And then immediately afterwards, they arrest Bucky.
They do.
He missed meeting his therapist, like court-mandated therapy session, which was,
Anyway, so I really dug that, and I loved the way that they presented that, in the sense that Sam is undergoing that same level of frustration that millions of marginalized Americans are experiencing, and kudos to the writers for showing that on screen, right?
Yeah.
What do you think of the therapy sessions since you met part of the therapist?
I don't know, man. I've had a lot of therapy, and I feel for Bucky. Because I was in the same fucking boat.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Is the trope of a superhero, seeking therapy and that being part of the narrative, is that overdone? Because I was thinking, I was like, I've seen that in the current issue of Black Knight. Dane is in therapy.
Yeah.
In one of the most recent, back when Moon Knight had his own solo issue.
Yeah.
His therapist actually tried to steal his powers from Khonshu.
Yeah.
And I was thinking back, I mean, the Hulk is almost always seeing a therapist, it seems like.
Well, that's because Doc Samson is a psychiatrist. I mean, that's his job, right? Yeah. So we literally had that wonderful Peter David issue where like every one of the X Factor, I think, or was it the New Mutants? I forget what team it was. All get therapy sessions from Doc Samson. I mean, but it seems old to us. But ask yourself how many television or movies have shown a superhero getting therapy.
Yeah, that's a fair point. We're more inside baseball than the average.
You have
also.
Go ahead, Mike.
I would also put forward that like of the superheroes who should probably get therapy, the dude that was brainwashed for like a century killing people is like high up on that list.
Yeah,
of, like need,
Yeah, I'm gonna go straight to pharmaceuticals if I'm the doctor.
Like, lobotomize him, put him a new brain. We'll just grow a new one.
I was talking with somebody on Twitter about sales. I think it was Ava Webb, but talking about sales of comic books versus how many people see these characters in the movies. Oh, yeah. The best sales Wonder Woman has had since the 1940s was her number 750 issue, which sold like, I don't know, 160,000 copies.
That's pretty good.
And that's the best she's sold in decades, right?
Yeah.
1.9 million people, 10 times as many, bought Wonder Woman on DVD. And 10 times that number saw her movie in the theaters in the first year, right?
Yeah.
So for every person that buys a Wonder Woman comic, 100 watched her movie. We love the comics. We are a tiny fraction of the superhero audience. Most people, the vast 99% of Americans know these superheroes from the films and the television shows, and they don't know shit about the comics. And quite frankly, they don't care. They don't care.
And the fact that there have been 750 issues before doesn't matter as much as you might think, because
That's
like most people who bought issue 700 were buying 750, and so on and so forth. It's not new customers flowing in for every issue.
Yeah. Let's see. So we talked about the the therapy. So we're seeing a lot of like elements in this show that are bringing these two guys physically very close together, right? Like the knees, the legs thing when they have to get close and talk.
Yeah, get closer, and they're like, we're not touching knees, and she's like closer.
And then there's the scene earlier in the episode when they get thrown off the truck and they sort of roll in the grass together like Wesley and Princess Buttercup, in The Princess Bride. And Buck comes out on top and he's looking down at Sam, right? Like they just got a kiss. Like all that's left is for them.
That was a gradual thing too, right? Because like first they're on the plane before they jump out on whatever the first mission was. And they're just like staring at each other like 10 feet away. It's like, what are you gonna do?
They're playing up like the physical closeness of the two for comedy, but a lot of people are like, this is a romantic comedy series. I don't care what you say.
the Falcon Winter Soldier fanfics have already begun.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. It's great, like more power to them.
No, yeah, and there's that also that like that subplot they've got going for Bucky and the Japanese family, I guess. Well, I don't know. It's not a family. It's the dude, and they just hang out in the same area, and then a girl at the restaurant. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Bucky apparently has a list of people he has hurt. He's trying to make good on that list. Of course, the way he's actually doing it is very different than the way that his therapist thinks he's doing it.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
How is he actually doing it?
What does he do to the woman in the car?
He takes control of her car remotely to keep her from running away from him. And then like goes up to her after like, zigzagging around in the parking lot and being like, hey, I'm sorry about what I did to you when I was the Winter Soldier. We're cool now. Goodbye. Yeah.
But apparently he shot this guy's kid who was an innocent civilian. He was just a witness to one of the Winter Soldier's assassinations. And he shoots this kid just because he was there. Wrong place, wrong time. And that kid's father is at the top of Bucky's amends list. And so he has befriended this old guy. And they go out and have lunch together, or they drink sake together or whatever. And the old guy has no idea that this is the guy that killed his son. That's got to come out by the end of the show, right? Like if you're going to set that up in episode 1, Bucky's got to confess to that by episode 6, right?
It's kind of a ticking bomb, right?
Yeah. And then we have to see if I know we can't expect the father to be grateful. We can't expect even forgiveness. We're just hoping that Bucky will be honest and then accept the rejection of the old man.
Are we already on to our hopeful speculations? Because like I'm really hoping John Walker goes nomad, and that's what their plan is.
One last thing before we get to rampant speculation, and that is I kind of want to. What do you think about the whole Flag Smashers Super Soldier plot?
Didn't they do that at some point in the 90s? Wasn't that a Crossbones plot at some point?
Well, I mean, the Flag Smasher is a 90s villain, I think.
Yeah, like I vaguely, because that was when I used to get the monthly run on Captain America. And I remember they like broke his spine at some point, and then they gave him weird power armor, which for some reason nobody ever made for Professor X.
And, that was Grunwald's run.
The 90s was all about broken spines.
But what I noticed is that the Power Broker showed up at the end of this.
Oh yeah.
So there were two versions of the Power Broker, but I think the Power Broker. So now we can slide into our rampant speculation. I believe, from what I see, from the evidence that we see in the show, is that these superpowered people, and there's only about 8 of them, it's like half a dozen of them, and that's all that there is. There was early speculation that the female leader was like maybe related to the Red Skull, but instead it looks like they have gotten their powers from the Power Broker. The super soldier serum has been figured out, and he is selling the power. He was selling the super soldier serum to anyone who has the money to pay, and that's what the Power Broker is. It looks like.
I mean, they just introduced Zemo and they're talking about Hydra. I feel like it's probably going to be a Hail Hydra moment, which makes sense because Hydra is like very big on Captain America. Hydra's every 3rd issue. It's Hydra.
Well, tell me your Nomad theory.
Well, I mean, I think John Walker eventually is either going to find out that he's incapable of filling the boots, or like there's going to be enough push from the Winter Soldier and Captain Falcon, and probably some terrible tragic event involving that woman that we see very briefly in the locker room and then never again.
His wife, I presume.
Oh yeah, one would presume. The female lead for him, she'll get killed or something, or maybe Battlestar, which is a new character, right? Battlestar. Well, no, is that okay?
Battlestar is the character that, believe it or not, was originally named Bucky. He was John Walker's Bucky.
Okay.
But
my memory.
A writer, and I can't remember his name now, but he created Milestone Comics. Help me out, Mike. Created Static Shock.
Who?
Milestone Comics creator?
He created Static Shock, Milestone Comics.
Oh, Static Shock, shit.
Let's see. That looks like Dwayne McDuffie.
Yeah, Dwayne McDuffie.
Okay.
Dwayne McDuffie died long before his time. Brilliant talent, amazing guy, and also very aware of Marvel's mistreatment of black characters over the years. He made a point of showing Marvel that they had introduced like 4 new black characters in the last year, and 3 of them rode skateboards. And he made a pitch for like teenage Negro urban slashers or whatever it was called. It was like but it was a satirical pitch for a black superhero team where all of them rode skateboards and lived in the ghetto. And he sent it to his bosses in Marvel, and it was like, look, this is, like, we got to do better than this, man. Well, anyway, McDuffie wrote on for that character, for those characters for a little bit, and pointed and had a character in the book point out to the character of quote unquote Bucky that Buck is a long, old racial slur for black men in America, and that it was completely inappropriate for a black superhero to be called Bucky, and the character in the comic suggests to the Bucky character that, if you ask me, that's the federal government telling you to stay in line. They gave you that name on purpose to show you where your place was. And so this gets him thinking about what to change his name to, and he eventually changes his name to Battlestar.
See, I was going to suggest that he might be the one who suffers, but now I'm thinking that they'll keep him around.
It's interesting. I love that the fact that when Bucky hears the name Battlestar is when he tells him to stop the car.
Yeah, I was wondering what that was about. Oh, okay.
Because think about it, like the name Battlestar, you are the star of the battle. You are in it for the glory, like as if combat was a Hollywood movie, right? You are we think of Battlestar Galactica, but that's not what Bucky's thinking of. Bucky's just hearing the word Battlestar, I'm out. Like, right? Yeah. That idea of combat as spectacle, as a performance that I am the star of is as far from Bucky's personality, as far from where Bucky is right now, as you could possibly be, right? He's like, no way. Stop the car. Right. Yeah. I liked it. I liked it a lot. So you think that he'll become Nomad?
That's my hope.
Instead of becoming just U.S. agent.
Well, maybe they'll bring him back into U.S. agent and there'll be a transitionary period where he's U.S. agent. But yeah, I think the final destination for that guy is Nomad.
Yeah.
I think once you start casting him as a villain and that there's a lot of foreshadowing and cinema tricks being used to get us in that mindset, that's the ultimate destination.
It's interesting how these stories play out when we know that Steve Rogers cannot come back.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Alternate universe, Steve Rogers. Here we are.
They could. Are they going to recast him? Or are you talking about? I mean, old man Steve could show up for a cameo, but he's not going to put on the costume and be Chris Evans.
Evans, yeah.
Chris Evans is not going to sign another 3-movie deal. He's out.
Well, not yet, but you know.
In the comics, Cap always comes back. Steve always comes back, and because Steve is always going to come back, every other person who carries the shield must be inferior, right? Falcon gives up the shield in the comics and yields to Steve because he feels like he wasn't good enough. And the writers wrote the story so that Falcon was always failing. U.S. Agent Walker, when he's Captain America, Walker being Captain America, is constantly failing. And shows us that Steve is the only person who can do that job. But the difference between comic and film, where actors sign on for a 9-movie deal and then they're gone, means that the story must play out differently. And I love that. I love the fact that it can't just be, okay, Steve Rogers comes back because the actor's gone.
It's if I was a betting man, I would bet at some point in the next 10 years, we get Chris Evans at least back as a de-aged or flashback Steve Rogers, at least a cameo, maybe something a bit long. Maybe, he shows up for a climactic battle scene or something. Maybe just a super soldier, which is who he was when he wasn't Captain America, after he'd been de-aged, after he was aged. Yeah, comics, blah. But I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, wouldn't it be exciting if the cinema universe has to move on because they're not nailed to continuity, nailed to the status quo the way the comics are.
Well, I mean, until they reboot the entire thing and they cast a whole new group of actors and we do the entire Avengers over again with a new cast, right?
Did you guys see the Beta Ray Bill? Hard segue, sorry. Beta Ray Bill hashtag was trending on Twitter today on the news that Russell Crowe was cast in the new Thor Love and Thunder movie.
But we don't know that he's playing Beta Ray, right?
We don't. He could be playing a random Asgardian. He could be playing. There's been no confirmation of an exact role.
Yeah, there's a bunch of Asgardians, man. You could toss Russell Crowe out a lot of them.
Yeah, he could be a time traveling King Thor from the far future. He could be lots of people. So, yeah.
I mean, I would love to see Beta Ray, one of Simonson's many fantastic additions to the Thor mythos. So, I mean, that would be fantastic. And of course, everyone, all the diehard nerds know that we got a visual reference to Beta Ray Bill in Ragnarok when his face is on the side of the Grand Master's palace. But, I don't know, maybe. I mean, it's so weird that it's right up Taika Waititi's alley, right?
That's true, yeah.
Like the idea of, okay, this horse-headed alien that is as good as Thor or better, and Sif falls in love with him and everything. Okay, sure, let's do that story.
So what's the status with Spider-Man and therefore Osborn and full Thunderbolts going crazy? Because if they're introducing Zemo, we're opening the door to the Thunderbolts, which is awesome. The Thunderbolts are great. I feel like they would be an excellent movie, especially to parody Suicide Squad and DC's push with villainy stuff.
Yeah.
But Osborn's tied up with Spider-Man, and Spider-Man's still tied up with Sony, right?
Well, I mean, they have a sort of sharing agreement, right? Like Spider-Man can show up in in Marvel movies.
And Colossus can be in Deadpool, and everyone's fine.
Yeah, but I think that like the distance between introducing Zemo and having him put on the purple ski mask and Thunderbolts is a pretty huge gulf, right? Like the trick.
Short.
The trick to Thunderbolts is, I'm just speculating here on your idea. Like, first off, like, yes, the original Busek Thunderbolts is a fantastic story.
It gives Hawkeye something to do.
It's
right?
so, but you'd have to do it with the villains that already exist in the Marvel universe, right? Like you'd use Vulture instead of Beetle, and you'd use all of those other Marvel villains that are like secondary character. Like I would not be surprised if Bat the Leaper shows up in it, right?
Yeah.
He showed up twice now already, or maybe one of the other villains that survived from the various films that we kind of have disregarded.
There haven't been many, but yeah, I mean it's possible. I'd like to see it. I sometimes think DC had to go the villain team route because their main universe just wasn't really firing on full cylinders. So it's kind of like a Hail Mary.
Yeah, well, hiring James Gunn to make your DC movie, I mean, that's kind of like when DC hired John Byrne to come write Superman, right? Like you take a guy who's done it, who's got a demonstrable cred for the other company, and then ask him to do it for you. We've all seen the Suicide Squad trailer, I presume.
Well, I know you and I have. Mr. Myler has not.
You haven't seen it yet, Mike?
I don't do trailers because after film school, it just kind of ruins the whole experience.
Oh, fair enough. Okay, all right. Well, it looks like it's going to be. It looks fun, but
the stills look good. Like I've seen like promotional stuff.
Yeah,
I'm down. I'll be there.
Yeah, Gail Simone, she tweeted to James Gunn, "You made a movie just for me." And James Gunn was like, "Yes, I did."
Well, he put King Shark in it, and Stallone voices King Shark. Yeah.
But Ron Funches did such an amazing job voicing King Shark in Harley Quinn. Like, why would you?
Well, you're right, and he visually looks a lot like that version of King Shark, and not like the Shark from the comics, because apparently Gunn was originally going to use the Hammerhead King Shark model, and they did it, and they tested it, and the audience couldn't tell where he was looking. Like the audience, like the shots were too wide, and people couldn't tell what he was looking at because of the eyes on the side of his head. So they redid it.
Sorry.
And did kind of a parallel construction with the Harley Quinn version.
That Baby Shark remix of the King Shark portions of the trailer was on James Gunn's Twitter.
Gunn and Stallone are friends, and so apparently he says, like, he came up to Stallone. He said, "Listen, I got a part for you in my next movie. It's not very long. It won't take you very long to do." And Stallone says, "What is it?" "Well, you're kind of a big, giant, dumb, man-eating shark." And Stallone just laughs and says, anything for you, brother." So there you go. That was the extent of the casting.
There's a really great if you look up on YouTube, it's like it tours of Paramount or something, and it's something that the Matt Stone and Trey Parker did before everyone realized they shouldn't let them do anything. And they went around the lot just filming this hilarious mock parody, this is what Hollywood's like. And they get Stallone on it, and he's like, that's a character I play, right? Like, you're gonna tell people that's a character I play? Of course we are. He does not like doing that very much. Yeah. So to hear that he's friends with James Gunn makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Hey, I'm about to do a segue. You guys ready?
Yeah.
You holding something? Okay. Yeah, because this is hard. There's no transition at all. Hey, look at this. What the hell?
Yeah.
Legendary Adventures.
We popped past 7,000 during this conversation, actually.
That's fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I'm super happy. It's going way better than I thought it was going to go. It's going better than any of my other Kickstarters, actually.
We're going to have some audience members who are purely audio. So let me set this up for them. Legendary Adventures Epic D&D 5e by Mr. Mike Mylar. I'm assuming published by Ian Publishing.
No, this is by Legendary Games.
Oh, cool. Even better. And this is on Kickstarter right now and for the next 23 days. And he just blew past $7,000. And I'm not going to say that Mr. Myler is saying this, but some people are saying that sometimes D&D can get a little dicey at upper levels. But I think this is the cure for that fever. Right, Mr. Myler?
Yeah. I mean, it's still dangerous. You gotta half the book is monsters, more than half the book is monsters, because there's just not enough monster support for high level play in 5e, and so yeah. If you already have epic rules you like, and I know TC Games has been publishing rules for it, that's great. Buy my book as a monster book. But if you just want a quick light thing to continue with your campaign, this guy's just 128 pages, light as a feather, and yeah, I've been playtesting it for the past year. It's been terrible fun. And yeah, before I hopped on here, I'm about to finish converting that adventure because I'm pretty sure we're going to break through $10,000, so I have to have that ready. But yeah, once we do, everybody will get a free adventure PDF, and then if you want to order a copy for yourself, it'll be $10 or less soft cover through the mail. So.
I love this this GIF you have here with the Robo Dragon and the Epic Ranger.
I'm getting a Robo Dragon on my shoulder. I'm so freaking stoked. It's gonna be my first two. It's gonna go all the way down here. It's gonna be swooping or something. I'm already emailing artists. It took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to get a tattoo of, and I can't think of anything better than a Robo Dragon. So that's what we're gonna go with.
Oh, sweet! That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Jason, what was your first tattoo?
You're such a.
Got a huge Superman thing on his back. It's just 4 feet across.
No,
I've got a Star Trek badge right here. I'm getting a dermal implant later that goes whenever I press it.
Mike's just getting me back to my track about why are you here, so that's fair. That was even up. Okay.
And now equanimity has been restored.
It has. There's cosmic balance in the force.
Sweet. All right, cool. Yeah, this looks great, and you've got a lot of time to hit even more stretch goals because you've got.
Congratulations! You've only been going for a week, and you've already hit $7,000. So yeah.
I know. Yeah, I think my best one so far was Varanthia Codex. We got $11,000. So yeah, this is my 10th project. I've been doing these a lot.
This is great stuff because this is a classic example of the stuff that an actual actual is a terrible way to put it.
A full publishing house might do.
That like a full-time publishing house where you've got a staff of 100, there's 30 of us in the editorial team at Paizo. And we can't put out a book like this because there's not enough money in it to pay everybody involved, right? We don't have enough. If it's that, we can do a high level book, or we can do yet another first level adventure. Which one of those two things will sell more, right? Okay, the first level adventure will sell more. But you're right, people need high level play. It took us 2 years of putting out Starfinder before we could do a high level adventure path, right? Something that does levels 13 to 20. And we did a 3-volume thing. It just finished a few months back. And for a couple of years, we were saying look, we have a 20 level game. Players get up to that level. We have to support everything. And the suits were they don't sell.
Well,
this is where third party press really helps. It really comes to the rescue of everybody involved.
Let's say, does Starfinder subscription play as big a part in the planning at Paizo as the Pathfinder adventure subscriptions, or do you guys have an adventure subscription for Starfinder, right, or no?
For sure, yeah, for sure we do.
Yeah. So is that I know that's the core of all the Pathfinder stuff. It's okay, we know we're getting this many orders for this adventure. We're doing for the 2 years.
We're kind of I don't there's no I don't know the specific numbers, and I probably couldn't tell them if I did, but what I can say is that we're certainly aware of our subscription audience, but we try not to be beholden to it. We try not to keep it. We try not to let our subscription model keep us from doing cool stuff.
Sure.
So, for example, we're putting out self-contained adventures now, like just 1-volume adventures that are one, and those were not part of the subscription service. So there was a little bit of well, can we do that? And the answer was happily yes, we can.
Yeah.
Maybe they would buy a high level adventure, maybe they wouldn't. But my point was just I'm so glad that Legendary and other companies can come through with this support because players need it. Players need it and they want it and they like to have it. And we can't always give it to them. So I'm glad that somebody else can.
Well,
go ahead, Mike.
This is another one of my license things, and this is actually just the Mike show. Like Zayna Broadway helped me like playtest it, and so did other couple of game designers and stuff. But like it's all just me going crazy for a while,
Fantastic.
writing it down and playtesting it, and then I do all my layout and my art direction and my graphics. It's all, but like it took 7 years to the point where I can just like pound out a really high quality book.
Yeah.
I'm so blown away that it's going so well because like I was like, oh, maybe I'll make a couple thousand on this book. Maybe we'll sell $5,000 worth of book. But it looks like the way Kickstarters normally work, we're probably looking at like 20,000, which is terrifying.
Well, you're much better at Kickstarters than I ever was. So kudos to you.
Well, you had the Camelot thing. Did you finish all that up?
Yeah, you have. It's funny as you have today. You have officially equaled in 7 days what it took me a month to do on the old Arthur Lewis.
Well, think of it more like this took 7 years for me to get.
Yeah,
it's also the first thing I do that's not niche, and like it's still kind of niche, right? Because it's epic play, but like other stuff, I'm like, it's a deco punk world where you blow up guns with your evilness and you are sinful.
You got to keep in mind. I mean, Mr. Mylar here. I didn't want to say Mike because people might get confused because there's two of us, and we look just exactly like. He's been in this pool, 5e, D&D, that kind of for years doing these Kickstarters.
For sure.
Whereas you and I did, I think, 2 Kickstarters related to Fate. Yeah. Also, I mean, Fate, 5e, there's a difference there.
Who's really doing it is
one level of difference. Yeah.
Morris over at Ian Publishing has worked out a very effective model where basically every month there's a two-week Kickstarter. And he pulls in like, not that much, like more than I've got right now because he's got a huge base from other projects. Mm-hmm. But it's constant, so he keeps building the audience and getting them to come back every single month and reminding them like, hey, we're here, we're going to be doing new stuff.
It's engagement. Yeah, it's honestly, I've been thinking about copying him just because I wish I understood the algorithm better, but you get so many more eyeballs on Kickstarter than you do on Drive-Thru-RPG. I just do a little bit of Kickstarters. I may pick back my production cost, then I can just do long tail sales on Drive-Thru, and I'm fine with it. I'm not losing any money. So
you lose 15% of what you get like from the Kickstarter total, right? Like you just to taxes and Amazon and like failed pledges and this or that. About 15% goes away. Drive-Thru, it's 35.
Yeah,
it's 3 times as an effective marketplace for your stuff.
Like I said, there's just I looked at sales yesterday. I don't want to turn our fun Falcon and Winter Soldier discussion show into RPG business show, but I was looking where my sales come from, and if it's not on the front page at Drive-Thru, it's minimal. It's like one a month. Everyone who's buying my stuff sees it on the front page, or sometimes a category page. And for somehow Kickstarter, you just get a huge volume more. Anyway, Falcon and Winter Soldier. Wacky predictions. What's going to happen next week?
I hope we get Sharon. Like I really want to.
Yeah.
Like we have not got Sharon Carter yet, and when I first saw that character in the original Winter Soldier film, I was not wowed about the actress and about the way, but she grew on me, and I really want to see her get some screen time in this series. It's a very macho male show. Like this show is very much a bromance kind of action show. That's about male issues. The women are therapists and sisters, and like they're very minor characters, they're supporting characters. So I guess I shouldn't really get my hopes up, but I am anyway.
Yeah, you can Sharon.
So we're not passing the Bechdel test here, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Although, did we pass it on WandaVision?
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, we had a lot.
We had to be because there's Agnes talking to Wanda about the Book of Shadows, and okay, there you go. It's not the Book of Shadows, the Darkhold. Sorry.
Well, we had lots of scenes between Monica and Darcy, for example.
Yes, that's true too.
There's plenty of women in that show.
I heard someone on Twitter describe Falcon and Winter Soldier as the show for all the guys who are waiting outside while their wives watched WandaVision.
So
I don't know if that's fair, but
It's a little unfair, but
so when you're making a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie and you have to hit $1 billion opening weekend or whatever, right? Like these ridiculous numbers. You have to appeal to the broadest possible audience. You have to try to get every single person in the movie screen. And that means your film is about the lowest common denominator. I'm not saying they're not fun. I love them. I've seen everyone in the theater, right? Like, but they're designed to appeal to everyone. That's not what's happening now. Now they have to fill content on Disney Plus, a streaming service. The leverage has shifted. Instead of the production studio having all the leverage, the writers now have the leverage. Like, you need me. You need me to fill content for your show that will only make money if people watch it. And you got to have a broad collection of content for that to happen. So now you can do these niche shows. You can do WandaVision, which is a show, a television show about television shows that's all about, sitcoms and personal relationships, raising kids in a super house. And then you can do this other show, which is aimed at veterans and Black American men. And it's different. It's not aimed at everybody. I mean, I'm loving it because it's got plenty of action and I love the characters and I love what they're saying, but it's aimed at a different demographic. And that's an interesting shift in the way that these stories are being made. So this is a long way of saying, yes, you're right. It is for a different group from the group that was watching WandaVision.
it's not just that either. It's also that they have so much more room to move around.
Yeah.
Like, if you have 120 minutes tops, there's only so much you can do. You can only introduce so many characters, so many plot lines before, like, it's just going to become a music video like the Hulk movie.
Those 120 minutes, like, Hollywood makes movies kind of the same way, right? Like, they have a model.
There's a formula.
There's a formula. And when you pay Chris Evans X many $1 million, however much he was earning in the movie, you have to put him in the movie to earn all those dollars. Now you've got 6 hours and you can divvy that time up in different ways. You're not obligated to spend 3/4 of it with the primary lead, right? The guy that you spend all the money on. You can spread that out. You're right. They can take more time with it.
And they definitely learned lessons from, like, the Netflix series.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely learned. Because if you watched, like, the first season of what was the first one? Was it Luke Cage, right? Daredevil was the first one?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, if you watch first season of Daredevil or Luke Cage, and you watch the last season of Iron Fist, like, the approach to narrative and characterization definitely changes. Where they realize, like, oh my god, we have so much more room and time to explore these things that, like, we can use that. It doesn't have to be instant gratification on everything. And
there's this wonderful scene in the first season of Daredevil where Karen Page is talking to this old Mexican woman, Latina woman, grandma, who's living in this house, and the whole scene is in Spanish. And Karen is sitting there talking to Morales. I think this is Morales or something. It's her last name, Martinez. I can't even remember what it is. And they're talking for like 10 minutes in Spanish. Like, that would never survive the cutting room floor, right? Never. But because they had 10 episodes or 12 episodes or whatever, and they were willing to be patient and tell these characters stories, they were able to do it. And yeah. This isn't as long as that. It's only half as long, but yeah.
Well, maybe that's okay because they kind of felt over-padded the last couple episodes of the Netflix series.
They were famous for bogging down around 2/3 of the way through. Yeah, and then picking up in the last couple. Yeah.
It's like comparing, like, monthly comic books to, like, full, like, when they're like, hey, Alex Ross, you want to do Kingdom Come? Like, yeah, we'll release it as a series, but it's not really. It's really this big tome we're going to split into 6 parts.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, it's just a different tactile quality to everything because you just have more pages.
Yeah.
So No one wants to venture any crazy predictions?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
He already made one. He already said he's gonna be Nomad.
Okay. Here's
All right.
my crazy prediction. We're gonna see Bob the Hydra agent somewhere in this whole thing. We will see at least one Hydra agent named Bob.
One comic relief Hydra agent named Bob.
No, I don't think they're gonna want to step on Deadpool's toes that much, but they will include a reference for a Bob. Yeah.
Okay, Diamondback. You think Diamondback's going to show up?
I was gonna suggest Diamondback, but I don't think we're gonna see her now.
Okay, Jason, you got anything, or are you abstaining
She's
from
like
Mikey?
a Steve character, like.
She's a Steve character. Yeah.
No, I'm really just I don't really have any speculation other than I really hope that Isaiah Walker gets more than just that one scene. I'd like for him to have an arc in this, and maybe serve as a way to bring Sam and Bucky together again. But that's it.
I don't know, man. I don't know. My film student instincts are screaming at that grandkid. Hi, guys.
Fair enough.
Because it also parallels the story of like the transitioning of the legacy, right? Like I really think Patriot's gonna come to the fore by the end. If not the end of this season, then the start of the next season.
Well, I definitely hope that the Young Avengers project continues. You know, we've planted a lot of seeds in.
Oh yeah, and She-Hulk's coming out sometime soon, right? Isn't She-Hulk in production?
It is, yeah.
Not that the characters involved with She-Hulk, but like
we've got the two kids from WandaVision. We've got Cassie from Ant-Man.
And they keep
so we're definitely getting the gang together. And that would be wonderful. I would love to see that show. Let's see that. Ms. Marvel. Ms. Marvel has her series coming.
Was it WandaVision that had the last cameos, the most recent cameos for the Skrull? Or am I thinking of? Because I remember seeing some recent cameos for the Skrull, but I can't remember where it was.
It was in WandaVision after credits.
It was WandaVision? Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah. And there's your hook for another new Avenger there. Bam.
I don't remember a squirrel in WandaVision.
No, Skrull with a K.
Oh, Skrull. I thought you were talking about Squirrel Girl. Okay.
Oh no. I would love if we could get some what were they called? The Mid Lakes Avengers? I would Flatman? Great Lakes Avengers, yes. Flatman, Big Bertha, yeah. I'd watch that.
That's funny.
Give it a few years, it might happen. All right, well, hey, we've been talking for an hour, which was longer than I thought we would get out of this episode, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, Jason's a actual professor of comics. I'm sure we could go for 3 hours.
This is a very nice way of saying I talk too much, but thank you.
No, it's not. It's just...
Your thesis was on the JLA Roundtable Camelot stuff, wasn't it?
There is a chapter of that in my dissertation end book. Yes, there is.
All right, can I tell you guys my Snyderverse fan theory?
Oh, sure. Hit us with we'll go out with a Snyderverse.
Martha Manhunter.
Nice.
He knows the world's need heroes, so he becomes Martha Wayne and gives birth to Bruce Wayne and arranges the whole thing at Crime Alley. Then he becomes Martha Kent. Marries Jonathan Kent, stays undercover for years to help raise a Kryptonian, mold him into the... Sorry, I think I'm losing.
I just shoveled Pennyworth into my brain over the last week.
This amuses me so much. When I saw the scene, yeah. When I saw the scene where Martha Manhunter turned from Martha Manhunter, all right, I'll work on it as my fan pitch and send it to DC Comics when I have some free time.
Okay. So. Okay. We'll be back next week.
All right, cool. All right. We'll be back next week. Thanks for checking us out on the BAMF Podcast, and we will check you next time.